Yeah, okay, so I saw a video on YouTube titled Zoink vs. Mrekk. Who's a more dominant #1 player? And if you don't know, Mrekk is the #1 player for Osu, if I'm not mistaken. So I would like to go ahead and look at this, which I really don't know because I don't know shit about Osu, to be honest with you. I don't know anything about Osu, but I would like to maybe learn a little bit more about it. No, I've not seen this. Let's go ahead.
The rank 1 player in the rhythm game Osu. And this is Zoink, the rank 1 player in the rhythm-based platformer called Geometry Dash. Although being two different players from two entirely different games, they both have a lot of similarities between each other. Both players have been at the #1 spot for the most amount of time out of any player in both games. Both have actually lost their spot for a short amount of time and then regained it once again. And both are regarded as the greatest player of all time for each game. But have you ever wondered who is actually more dominant? Mrekk in Osu or Zoink in Geometry Dash? In this video we will be comparing both players under certain criteria and we will decide who.
I mean, this is probably pretty obvious, no? It would probably be Mrekk, even though I don't really know shit about Osu, but it's probably just Mrekk. Just based on the time he's been one. That alone kind of shows it. It's like the Imperial Howl of Osu, bro.
More dominant. Now, before we actually start with the
10.
comparison, I do want to clarify that everything in this video in terms of comparison will be completely unbiased and we will be only looking at the facts. And if you disagree with some of the points here mentioned, then feel free to comment your opinion about it. And also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. I make both Osu and Geometry Dash news content. But let's get started with our first category, which will simply look at who has been longer at the #1 spot. Zoink and Geometry Dash took the #1 spot from Space around January of 2023, and he would have been technically #1 a few months earlier if it wasn't for the you-know-what incident. He would hold the #1 spot up until June 12th of 2024, where Trick, at the time the #2 player on the Pointer Grade leaderboards, would release a new video called I Am the Bounty Hunter. He would showcase in the video that he has been secretly grinding extreme demons to simply overtake Zoink, which he successfully did after the Pointer Grade leaderboard updated, and was battling Zoink for holding that position up until September of 2024, when Zoink would finally beat Trick and grab back his #1 position, and ever since then he has held the #1 spot without anyone interfering, which means that Zoink has been at the #1 position for 34 months, or roughly translated to 2 years and 8 months. But what about Mrekk? Well, this is where things get interesting.
Yeah, we just
Mrekk
looked at
took
this.
the rank 1 position in Osu on April 8th of 2021, overtaking Whitecat after his year-and-a-half dominance. Mrekk would hold that #1 position up until July of 2024, when Mrekk would lose the #1 position to Akolibet. Akolibet would manage.
So what we just looked at was just false, no? Mrekk pushed the skill ceiling of Osu so high that I quit.
to hold the #1 position for a staggering 12 days after a heated battle with Mrekk, but Mrekk managed to come through at the end, getting back his #1 position on August 3rd of 2024. And ever since then, Mrekk has held the #1 position with little to no competition at all, which
So both games have the same story of someone trying to overtake current top 1 and then just utterly failing and goes into oblivion. Wonderful.
Means that Mrekk has been at the #1 position for 56 months, or in translation, roughly 4.5 years. So when it comes to time spent at the #1 position, Mrekk takes the cake with the first point.
So point 1.
Now our next point is going to be about something that happened to both players, which is from losing the #1 position, how long did it took them to get back to the #1 position? Now, like we previously mentioned, Zoink would take around 3 months to take the #1 position from Trick, and Mrekk would take around less than 2 weeks to get the #1 position.
I thought Trick was... I thought someone told me it was only for a day. Okay, so I was just wrong on that.
From Akolibet. Now, some may say that it takes a lot more time to grind Geometry Dash levels compared to, you know, just grinding Osu, since for Geometry Dash, it's mainly memory, while for Osu, you can sight read levels. But even if you take that into consideration, let's say 1 week of Osu grinding is the equivalent of 1 month to Geometry Dash grinding, then Mrekk would still...
Is your sign to start grind to #1? Yeah, I mean... low key, I could just take over both Zoink and Mrekk on both games. I could become #1 if I really wanted to.
It'll take less time than, you know, what Zoink took to get the #1 position back, since Zoink took around 2.5 months for him to get back to the #1 position. So this point would definitely go to Mrekk once again. Now our next category is going to be interesting because we're going to compare the competition that Mrekk has had for PP records compared to the competition that Zoink has had for getting top 1s. Now when it comes to PP records for Osu, he has had many competitors. Just to name a few, we have Turna, who managed to get the PP record on Ascension to Heaven, a Kulibet that managed to get back-to-back PP records, first one getting the 1500 PP play on Valley of the Damned, and then a few weeks later getting the 1700 PP record on Sidetrack Day.
I really wish I had the knowledge to comment on any of this, but I really do not know shit about Osu. Maybe we should look at some of the top Osu levels. I haven't really seen much. I played for I played for a week or two when I knew somebody who was really good at Osu a long time ago, and then I stopped playing because the game was, you know, really boring. I really didn't care for it, I can't lie.
Afterwards, we have Ivaxar, who managed to get the PP record on the Violation, and as a recent, which is also the current PP record, is Toromivana, who managed to get the PP record on Humiliation Supreme, and it's to this day the PP record. And
maybe I'm just immature, but I love the abbreviation PP. It's actually awesome. It's so awesome. PP is such a great abbreviation. My favorite.
Has had to battle them multiple times to get the new PP record in the game, which he has done multiple times, and we're still waiting for him to get the new one potentially. So when it comes to competition and PP record, Mrekk has a lot of them. But what about top 1 verifications in Geometry Dash, and does Zoink have a lot of competitors in that? Well, over the past few years that he has been dominant, not many people have actually challenged him for a top 1 verification. For example, out of the last 5 top 1 levels that we've had in Geometry Dash, only one of them has been verified by someone else, which is W Popoff with Amethyst. But the thing is, Amethyst...
Well, how about Flame Wall? Oh, Flame Wall wasn't ever top 1. Oh, duh. Okay.
Was verified a little after Thinking Space 2 was verified, and because Amethyst got rated way faster than Thinking Space 2, some people sometimes don't consider Amethyst as a top 1, since again Thinking Space 2 was verified before that, but that still doesn't change the fact that the recent top 1s have been essentially all verified from Zoink. So when it comes to that, I will give Zoink this point, because it does seem that he's pushing the game's limits to the absolute max compared to other players in the game. But what about the difference in points between the #1 and the #2 position? You know, to truly see the difference in skill. Well, at the moment on the individual stats viewer, Zoink is 2,625 points above the #2 spot, which is W Pop-Off. And as it stands right now, this probably won't change anytime soon, since that is a lot of points. Pop-Off will have to grind a ton to...
Yeah, that is so much. That is such a huge jump. Yeah. I'm right. Yeah, it's been 4.5 years, Nib. A long time.
Even get near Zoink, and that is only if he grinds for, let's say, the next 2 or 3 months. When it comes to Osu and Mrekk though, Mrekk as it stands at the moment is less than 2,000 PP above the 2nd position, which is Toromivana. But the reason why Toromivana even managed to get this close to Mrekk was because Mrekk wasn't grinding the game at all. He was even stating that he would give the #1 position to someone else simply for him to have a bit more fun with the games.
A top 1 player becoming a content creator or focusing on content creation is so wonderful. I love it. I love it, dude. Most games, top 1 players don't do shit but play the game and then upload their their footage of them beating a level.
Since he has been at that spot for many years now. And in those many years, the gap between the #1 and the #2 spot have been humongous. For example, in January of 2023, the gap in PP between the #1 and the #2 positions was more than 3,100 PP, or maybe even more. And even recently, around September of 2025, the gap was once again more than 30,000 performance points. And the reason for it now to be around 2,000 PP was simply because Mrekk started playing the game again and had an insane pop-up session. It only took him a week to enlarge the gap again, from it being less than 500 PP to it now being close to 2,000 PP. So yeah, I think this point will definitely go to Mrekk once again. So if we count all points, then the score would be 3-1 for Mrekk, which
3-1. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this video in general is more of just a gimme. It's like, kind of the Osu's been out way longer, and Mrekk's been top 1 for a lot longer and been playing for a lot longer. It's just kind of like given.
Means that the more dominant player in their retrospective game would be Mrekk in Osu compared to Zoink in Geometry Dash. Now again,
Needs to be more competition in GD. I agree. I feel like a lot of people go into GD and they just have shitty mentalities, bro. Most people just fucking give up. They don't, like, nobody goes in with a mentality of just going and trying to beat shit. People just don't, they don't care.
Tried to go off of facts and everything and a bit of a realistic approach. Again, it is very, very hard to compare both players because, again, there are two different games with two different scoring systems. Which, again, I encourage you, if you think that some of the stuff that I said in this video is false or just incorrect in your opinion, then mention it down below. I may pin the comment or just give you a heart on it or something like that. Also, if you're a Geometry Dash player and you happen to have heard of Osu for the first time, give it a try. It's free. You can download it for yourself.
I might do that. I am thinking about looking at the top levels in Osu because I haven't looked. It's been a long time since I've even touched that. I've played the game very little, and I don't know if I ever looked at the top levels for it.
Same goes for the Osu players. Try Geometry Dash, buy it off of Steam. It's pretty cheap and it's really well. Surprisingly, both communities have a lot of similarities, both good and bad, and both games are also really fun to play, so why not give it a shot? As for me, I've been Stu. Thank you so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe
video.
if you want to stay updated.
I mean, I feel like it's just sort of like a gimme again. It's like obvious. You just put the time of the game and who's been longer. It just kind of that covers it mostly, because time is everything when it comes to becoming better.